Reading for 10 minutes to improve my English. English speech because I want to do presentations and I just want to improve my English, for presentations, I want to do presentations in life. Okay, the book I'll be reading from is called Sleepers. It's called Sleepers. I don't think you can see the cover. It's a true story when friendship. I'll just go about what's written on the cover. When friendship runs deeper than blood. Lorenzo Garcaterra. Yes, Lorenzo Garcaterra. Let's see. Well, we'll just jump to the first chapter. Reading for 10 minutes. I sat across the table from the man who had battered and tortured and brutalized me nearly 30 years ago. I had imagined him to be in his 60s. He had seemed so old to me back then, but in fact, he was in his late 40s, less than a decade older than me. His thinning hair was combed straight back, and his right hand, trembling and ash white, held a filtered cigarette. His left clutched a glass of ice water. He looked at me from behind a pair of black-rimmed glasses, his brown eyes moist, his nose running, the skin at its base red and flaky. "I don't know what you want me to say," he said in a voice devoid of the power it once held. "I don't know where to start." In my memory, he was tall and muscular, arrogant and quick-tempered, eager to lash out at those under his command. At the juvenile home where I spent 9 months when I was 13 years old, in reality, sitting now before me, he was frail and timid, thin beads of cold sweat forming at the top of his forehead. "I need to keep my job," he said, his voice a whining plea. "I can't lose this one. If any of my bosses find out, if anybody finds out, I'm finished." I wanted to stand up and grab him, reach past the coffee and the smoke and beat him until he bled. Instead, I sat there and remembered all that I had tried so hard over so many years to forget. Painful screams piercing silent nights, a leather belt against soft skin, foul breath on the back of a neck, loud laughter mixed with muffled tears. I had waited so long for this meeting, spent so much time and money searching for the man who held the answers to so many of my questions. But now that he was here, I had nothing to say, nothing to ask. I half listened as he talked about 2 failed marriages and a bankrupt business, about how the evil he committed haunts him to this very day. The words seemed cowardly and empty, and I felt no urge to address them. He and the group he was a part of had stained the future of 4 boys, damaged them beyond repair. Once the sound of this man's very walk caused all our movement to stop. His laugh, low and eerie, I don't know what, EERIE, eerie, had signaled an onslaught of torment. Now sitting across from him, watching his mouth move and his hands flutter, I wished I had not been as afraid of him back then, that I'd somehow had the nerve and the courage to fight back. So many lives might have turned out so differently if I had. "I didn't mean all those things," he whispered, leaning closer towards me. "None of us did. I don't need you to be sorry." I said, "It doesn't do me any good. I'm begging you," he said, his voice breaking. "Try to forgive me. Please try. Learn to live with it." I told him, getting up from the table. "I can't," he said. "Not anymore." Then then die with it. I say, looking at him hard, just like the rest of us. The pained look of surrender in his eyes made my throat tighter, easing the darkness of take it. If only my friends had been there to see it. This is a true story about friendship that ran deeper than blood. In its telling, I have changed many of the names, and altered most of the dates, locations, and identifying characteristics of people and institutions to protect identities of those involved. For example, I've changed the location of the murder trial, which did not take place in Manhattan. I've also changed where people live and work and made many of them a lot better looking than they really are. It is a story that has taken 2 years to write and parts of 2 decades to research, forcing awaken all the principles, memories we would have preferred to forget. I have been helped in the recreation of the events of this story by many friends and a few enemies, all of whom requested nothing more in return than anonymity. So while the deeds have been accurately documented, their names, heroes, and villains will remain unknown. However, hidden their identities, there is still my story that of the only 3 friends in my life who have truly mattered, 2 of them were killers who never made it past the age of 35. The other is a non-practicing attorney living within the pain of his past, too afraid to let it go, finding reassurance instead of confronting his horrors. I am the only one who can speak for them and for the children we were. Okay, that was or basically that was like a starting introduction. This is book 1. We're starting now, book 1. This much I do know: there is no such thing in this world as a bad boy. Spencer Tracy as Father Eddie Flanagan. Well, that's a good quote, nice quote. This much I do know: there's no such thing in the world as a bad boy. It's a good quote. Summer 1963. Labor Day weekend. Okay, this is chapter 1. Labor Day weekend always signaled the annual go-kart race across the streets of Hell's Kitchen, the mid-Manhattan neighborhood where I was born in 1954. I lived until 1969. Preparations for the race began during the last 2 weeks of August, when 3 best friends and I would hide away inside our basement clubhouse in a far corner of a rundown 49th Street tenement, constructing, painting, and naming our racer, which we put together from lifted lumber and stolen parts. A dozen carts and their teams were scheduled to assemble early on Labor Day morning at the corner of 50th Street and 10th Avenue, each looking to collect the $15 first prize money that would be presented to the winner by a local loan shark. In keeping with Hell's Kitchen's traditions, the race was run without rules. It never lasted more than 20 minutes and covered 4 side streets and 2 avenues, coming to a finish on the 12th Avenue end of the West Side Highway. Each go-kart had a 4-man team attached, 1 inside and 3 out. The 3 pushed for as long and as hard as they could, fighting off the hand swipes and blade swings of the opponents who came close. The pushing stopped at the top of the 50th Street hill, leaving the rest of the race to the driver. Winners and losers crossed the finish clothesline, scraped and bloody, go-karts often in pieces. Drivers' hands bound by ropes. Few of us wore gloves or helmets, and there was never money for knee or elbow pads. We kept full plastic water bottles tied to the side of our carts, the fastest way to cool off hot feet and burning wheels. The runt of litter among my team I always drove. John Reilly and Tommy Marcano was spreading black paint onto thick slabs of dirty wood with color by number brushes. John was 11 years old, a dark-haired, dark-eyed charmer with an Irishman's knack for the verbal hit and run. His clear baby face was marred by a 6-inch scar above his right eye and a smaller half-moon scar below the chin line, both the results of playground folds and homemade stitches. 10 minutes is done. That was first day, first book. I reached where stitches stopped, stitches.